Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Slice of Gaming podcast live from Cologne, Germany. Joining me today, we have Bench.
Hello, I am here and back, and definitely in Germany.
And the person who stowed away onto our plane to Germany, Bop.
Listen, I'm in full lederhosen gear right now. Like, I totally belong here.
Dude, you blend in. I honestly didn't recognize you at first, if I'm being real.
Yeah.
Hey, it's quality leather too. Those Germans, they know how to rock a fit.
Do you know any German? Like, just off the top of your head?
I feel like everyone knows that 9 means no.
Okay.
Yep.
There's an obvious one that everyone knows. There's
Oh,
another one.
Gesundheit.
That's German?
Isn't it?
I don't think that is. I think that's a made-up word.
Let's see.
Gesundheit. Oh, I guess it is German.
Ha! Suck it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. You didn't know that because you knew German, though.
People also ask, why do Americans say Gesundheit?
There's a Guten Tag. I'm surprised you
Oh,
didn't say
yeah,
that.
Guten Tag. Okay, yeah. And Danke is thank you.
Danke. Wait, I thought that was
Prost is-
Danish. I guess Danish is like kind of the German cousin.
There's a word they like to call the Danish, and I'm not going to say because it's kind of mean.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But there's also Prost is cheers in German. I do know that because of
Okay.
I'm at Oktoberfest.
Alcohol addiction.
Yeah, well,
That's
you know, it
crazy.
pays.
Anyways, enough preamble. Let's get right into the podcast. Where can you find us? YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are found. What do you want to do to the podcast? Like the podcast. See, I'm trying a new intro, and what do you want to do to the podcast? I don't think that sounds right.
I think we should just demand them like it.
Like the podcast, or else. And also follow us on Twitter at A Slice of Gaming Podcast. See, there, I could have said, where can you follow us? A Slice of Gaming Podcast on Twitter. Okay, I just got to figure out how to say like the podcast in a cool way. All right, and then we can figure out the intro.
There's a podcast that I listen to that literally the first 10 minutes, or not 10 minutes, the first like 10, 15 seconds of every single episode is them just yelling like and subscribe. It's
Honestly, that's fair.
hilarious.
I get it. It's the whatever podcast, right? You're gonna say it.
No,
You're an avid listener.
I don't even know who that is. What is the?
Oh, you don't know the?
No,
Oh,
I
they're
genuinely. It's like a sports podcast
Oh, okay.
that I listen to. That does.
Yeah,
it.
don't look up the whatever podcast. It's fucking garbage. Anyways, into the video, into the podcast. Opening Night Live happened on Tuesday, August something.
20th.
20th. Okay, thank you. Wait, have we all watched? Bob, did you watch it?
Yes, I watched it after the fact.
Okay, gotcha. So we all watched it. I've been seeing very mixed things online. Saw a lot of like positive, and then a lot of just the same old Opening Night Live. Didn't enjoy it. I'll go last. Bench, what did you think of ONL?
I think it was. I just describe it as fun. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was terrible. It's probably at like the 6 or 7 range for me. But I mean, I enjoyed the afternoon I watched it. Sure, it was a long show, but I mean, I was chatting in the Discord while it was going on, and there were a couple of like things that you saw that you liked, and it was just fun. It's always fun seeing Jeff up on stage doing his thing. So, and it just kicks off like gaming news in general. Like we have so many previews to talk about. Just kicks off what has been a pretty quiet summer after Summer Game Fest.
For sure. What about you, Bob? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch this live because I knew, well, one, it was in the middle of the day, and like I can't just dedicate 2 hours to not working as much as I'd like to. Don't ignore the fact that I'm literally ignoring work right now to be on this podcast. That's besides the point.
Well, this is an important podcast.
Exactly. This is much more important than Opening Night Live. But I think I just know, like, I've always had the expectation that Gamescom is not like it's not a TGA, it's not a Summer Games Fest, and that's fine. Like, that doesn't need to be a bad thing. I think you need to have this to balance out the other two. And at the same time, we did see a lot of good, meaningful updates. And you know, some small surprises that I thought were interesting and like appealed to me. So if I had to give this a number, like I would say like probably like a 5 or a 6, and that's not like a 5 or a 6 on OpenCritic. That's a literal middle of the road where it's like it did everything it needed to do. It was fine, but like it still wasn't like must see TV or anything.
for me, it's this was difficult because like I went in with the expectations there's not going to be a lot, obviously, as opening night live is, but I almost had like a reconcile. I don't know what you call it. It come to well, I can't say come to Jesus. I'm Muslim. Come to Allah moment of like my realization of how uninterested I am in like 90% of games that come out nowadays, especially at Keeley shows. Maybe that's a Keeley show thing, but like it felt like watching this presentation, there was just nothing for me. Like pretty much nothing at all. Civ had a trailer that was a minute long, which gave me the release date, but it's like I kind of wish they showed more than that because we got a lot of details after the show, and I felt like, well, I wish I kind of like got that in a more condensed and clean trailer instead of just a minute of just, oh, look how pretty it is. Like I don't care about that. It's Civ. Like it doesn't. It can be 8-bit for all I care. Like it's Civilization. I care about the actual gameplay and like what you're doing with the systems and how you're changing it that way. That would have been one that really benefited from a like stage presentation, like get Sid Meier on stage to really explain stuff personally, more than Peter Molyneux, which we're definitely going to talk about later.
Oh yeah.
I look at a show like this and it's just, I don't know, it really like took me out of like realizing how few games here I can, in like every single game feels like it's a multiplayer game. Like I feel like almost every game it's cooperative, multiplayer, extraction, and it's just I don't like those type of games. And maybe that's a me thing. Maybe it's a me issue, and I shouldn't like bring it down on the show. And that's why like from an objective standpoint, I think this is a 6. But a personal standpoint, I think this is closer to like a 5, if not maybe even a 4 for me. Because I just don't have a lot that I can come out of this and be excited about. And that's not to the show's detriment. Like it's like you said, Bob, this is what it needs to be. This is a update show. But even then, I feel like the updates weren't substantial. Like with Sparking Zero got a trailer, they didn't even announce new characters or anything. It's just like, hey, it's still coming out. And I thought we were going to get a Metaphor trailer, but I guess it was just going to be that it was at Gamescom, not actually at Opening Night Live. And that's it, yeah. Indiana Jones, I feel like I wanted a gameplay demo and I got the same old, hey, here's just little snippets of gameplay here and there. It's like, I don't want to give me like a full showcase of what I'm doing in this game. Play through a level. I want to see what it's about because I was hearing some stuff in the previews, which we're going to talk about later, that got me more interested. So yeah, lots of rambling, but like, I don't know. I just think I'm so sick of multiplayer games. That's really all I got to say.
Yeah, I think I can agree on the multiplayer thing because like a lot of my friends like the cooperative multiplayer stuff, and I think most of us are pretty single player focused on how we game. So there's like kind of like, why aren't you like playing a multiplayer game with us all the time? It's because that's not where I find my like gaming joy. But to your point on like not really speaking to 90% of the things here, would you say you've played, looking back at several Jeff shows, would you have played 90% of the things on the show floor? Or is it just now realizing like, well, I just never really play a lot of the games he shows?
It's not so much the playing, it's just interested. Like, does this look interesting to me? And I feel like the other showcases, like SGF, that was a pretty boring, like it was not what it needed to be this year. I would still look at SGF. It's like there are more games in that showcase that I'm more interested in checking it. Like just looking at it, it's like that looks cool. I might not play them, but like they look cool to me. But like here, it's like everything was multiplayer, cooperative, top down, all these things. It's like, I don't know. It's just I feel like I need a little more variety. And maybe it's just maybe I'm in this moment of like I need Astrobot. I think Astrobot's gonna break me out, dude. I'm not joking. Like it literally is like because I'm in not a gaming funk. I'm in a modern gaming funk, and it's not to say I'm not gonna be one of those guys who's like modern gaming is bad. I don't give a shit. I think it's been great more than ever. But like I just haven't been in the mood to really play much.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think Astrobot's gonna be the thing that's like, God, I love video games.
I mean, maybe it's the type of show Gamescom is, because it's not a show, it's a convention. So maybe just a lot of these shows are like easier to demo. A lot of the multiplayer games are easier to demo on the show floor, and those are genuinely what make it into this show. So
yeah, and that's the thing. I just feel like a lot of the things like I would personally be more excited for this year. Like Metaphor didn't get anything at ONL, and then like Astrobot didn't get a trailer or anything. I would have loved to see like more gameplay footage of that. Didn't get that at all at ONL. We didn't get anything from like God, what was the name of that game? Like there's stuff like Dragon Quest coming out in November. There's a lot like Dragon Age could have used maybe a trailer here. There's so much I feel like could have like kind of slotted in, but instead we just get the same basic multiplayer shit that I feel like is at every Keeley show. And it's like, how much money are you guys spending on this?
And I think a lot of those reasons are like Jeff has kind of like the reign on people, but people like Square and some of those other companies, they're pretty much tied to a platform in marketing. So we're not going to see those at a Jeff show almost ever in the last couple of years, just because why would we if they're going to be at a direct or a showcase for PS Showcase or an Xbox show? Because like a lot of these games that you list off are things that would never be in a lot of the games that I'm looking at that were at the show are games that just would never be at one of the big three shows.
Yeah, I also want to push back a little bit. Also, before I do, well, if the word you're looking for 10 minutes ago was epiphany, having an
That's
epiphany.
it. You just gave me an epiphany.
Yes.
There we go.
Looking at the list though, and I'm looking off of IGN's Opening Night Live 2024 game, so hopefully this is as accurate as possible. But like, there are sure it's still the multiplayer. It's probably a more multiplayer split than single player, probably like 60-40. But there are still a lot of single player games in here, and that's totally fine if they didn't speak to you, because I think that obviously is like I think what you guys were saying is right, where it's like, yeah, the games Jeff can get for his show, I don't think speak to me as much as an Xbox showcase, a PlayStation showcase, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine, but I definitely fall in the camp of these things always at least look interesting. I'll just never actually play them.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for. And like for me, just none of that was there. And like, Bob, what you said is like, oh, there is a good split still of single player. Like, there's more than enough. But I feel like the way the show was paced, I didn't really feel that. I didn't notice the single player stuff really popping out. I feel like the multiplayer games got way longer demonstrations.
Yeah,
like, dude.
I'd agree.
And that's probably where my bias comes in, because I literally watched it afterwards. And I'm not going to lie, I skipped through about half the show. So I didn't watch it start to finish. I just kind of picked my spots.
You'd be very smart for doing that, because I'm just like, bro, if I have to ever sit through a Dune showcase ever again, I think I actually
really like that one. Oh, that sucks.
And then you have
it's not my type of game, you know. That's just
then you have like the two big kind of like the big single player game at the end was just like a not real trailer like Mafia, and I guess Borderlands is multiplayer, but there is a single.
But they didn't show anything.
We'll get into it.
That was a CG trailer. Yeah,
we'll get into it, but I'm fine with Mafia being like CG. That's a big franchise coming back.
That was more of an announcement than an update.
Yeah. And it is next year, so that is like we'll see more soon. I bet. I bet Games Awards we'll see another trailer.
Like I don't know. I feel like we always say it's like I'm very adamant that I think it's fine to have a logo or CG trailer, like a tone setter, if you're a franchise. Like if the next Uncharted game got like a CG trailer, massive pop off for me. Versus like if I don't know, what's a like random game that's coming out?
Fair Games.
Fair Games. That's a perfect thing. Like it's like I don't know what that is. Why should I care if it's like CG? You know,
I mean, they literally did that for Elder Scrolls 6, so it's.
Yeah, and Elder Scrolls 6, I popped off because it was 2018. So I was like, wait, how old was I? I was like 16 at that time, I want to say.
Jeez.
So and that was back when I was like, Skyrim's the greatest game ever made. So it's like, oh yeah, we're getting this soon.
We're back.
Now I'm 22. It's still not out. But yeah, I don't know. We'll get into our highlights and lowlights. You guys want to just jump right into that?
Sure.
All right. Bench, what's your highlight?
Okay, I know you don't like TV shows in your showcases, but
no, this is a good one.
Yes. My highlight is without a doubt Secret Level. Just like the entire concept of this just has me like jumping out of my seat. And like the thing I'm like constantly thinking about this week is Secret Level, and I'm just glad this exists.
No, Secret Level is an incredible idea, and I know you like. I don't like my TV shows and movies and showcases. But, like, I think I'm fine with something like this where, like, it is so gaming-centric. Though I will say that I was the one who was pissy about Gran Turismo, so, hey, maybe I'm just biased. I don't know. But, like, I think the idea of Secret Level just inherently is so perfect for a stage like this, where you have this anthology series of so many different properties. And you have Blur Studios, which they do Blizzard cinematics, so that's your fucking selling point right there. And the properties they chose, there's a lot of, like, pay-the-bills ones, like, Crossfire. Like, oh boy, that was definitely one where they had a lot of money. But Mega Man's getting one. That's insane to me. Or fucking there's a PlayStation All-Stars one, which they better say PlayStation All-Stars in that episode. That's all I ask.
No, I think it's just several episodes that are just different PlayStation. Like there's going to be a God of War episode, there's going to be a
Team
episode.
I was looking at the press release from Amazon. It's very much a episode that's just called PlayStation.
Okay.
And then Concord has a separate episode.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get there.
Maybe they canceled that episode. Who knows? But I mean, they have a Pac-Man episode. One that's really exciting: Armored Core 6 with Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Fuck yes.
That game was
Sifu has an
fun.
episode.
The
They
world.
chose
Spelunky. They chose
Outer
some smaller
Worlds.
games.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Mega Man too.
Yeah, Mega Man I mentioned earlier. I mean, yeah, it's an absolutely incredible idea. I'm so in for it. Hang on, there's Exodus? What's Exodus? I feel like I know that. name.
Yes.
Isn't that the
Exodus.
one?
It's not the Mass Effect previous.
Yeah, it's that one they showed
Oh.
at VGA.
It's what the Mass Effect fans are gaslighting me about how it's gonna
Yeah,
be the new
it's
correct.
Mass Effect.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
me and
Fusion.
Fusion are hyped about it.
There's New World, Unreal Tournament. Yeah, it just says for the PlayStation episode, it's just PlayStation, highlighting
Okay.
various PlayStation Studios' beloved entities. Hey, Bob, you know what that means? PlayStation All Stars, it's back.
Why are you talking to me about that? I never played that game.
Well, no, I know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying someone. I don't know.
Okay. Are you
I
just pointing to the fact that there's not an Xbox episode? Is that what we're getting? at
no.
What?
Why do you always assume I'm
Why
like
is it-
cheated?
Okay, but like, why is
here? I
it
have to be on
Gears
the fence
of
today,
War?
okay? I know what conversation's coming.
I will
It's
say
like-
it was interesting looking at the list, and it's like PlayStation seems to be really heavily on this. Xbox has one property with Outer Worlds, and Nintendo has nothing. Nintendo, not a shocker at all. Nintendo's Nintendo. It is a little surprising. It's like, throw them Gears of War. Like, I feel like maybe this is something where maybe they weren't interested in doing like an Xbox property outside of Outer Worlds. But I feel like if you have Xbox's phone number, you ask for Gears of War over Outer Worlds, and that's I'm not Bob. That's not a dig at Outer Worlds.
No, I'm not.
It's just Gears of War is a bigger IP, like factually. So I think that something like that. But maybe it's also Xbox has plans with like stuff like Gears, and we saw what happened with Halo. But like this was probably in development for a while.
Because this studio has worked on Halo. Like I played Halo 2, Blur did the cutscenes, and they were phenomenal. So why didn't you give them Halo?
Because they had a Halo show, and that was probably when they were making this.
Yeah, but
the
they're
Halo
making
show
a
was-
God
You
of
can do
War
both.
TV show and a Ghost of Tsushima movie. Like, yeah,
I
I don't.
know.
I was giving you an out, Bob.
No, I know. No,
I know.
I don't think I genuinely am not sure how this all came about. Granted, we should also point out that like Mega Man and Unreal Tournament aren't associated with any studio, so it's. But out of the three, yes, PlayStation has the most. Yeah, I'd imagine the only thing I could think of is that like, Xbox is still pivoting away from pivoting away from TV, and that's the only answer I can give you. But or maybe they're like, hey man, the Halo show didn't work out for us. We're kind of like cooling our jets on some of this stuff. But yeah, but like what this company is doing is a lot different than what other companies are doing for TV and movie properties. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why.
The anthology is such a perfect idea.
Exactly.
Just so that
Yeah.
you utilize so many different IPs at once
And
instead of
it's-
just
yeah.
one thing.
And it's 15 episodes. They must have major confidence
100%.
in
Yeah.
this.
I mean, Amazon's putting in the big books. They've been trying to make Prime a really big platform, and hopefully this helps out.
Working. Prime is by far the one I use the most.
Yeah, I think that's the case just because I have Amazon. I don't have Netflix anymore because like my dad stopped paying for it and I was mooching off him. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, I guess I use YouTube. I will say, okay, question: they offer you to watch one episode early, like right now. You get to watch one episode. What's the episode you choose?
Armored Core. By far. I think that's-
Outer Worlds.
I think I'm stuck between the PlayStation episode where it's like PlayStation All Stars because I just want to know what it is. What's Kratos doing in New York? That's all I want to know. But I'm also like, oh, the Mega Man episode looks sick.
I was gonna say the Mega Man one. We just haven't gotten anything meaningful from.
That's
Mega Man
my
in such a
thing.
long time. Where it's like, yeah, I could go for some Mega Man.
Mega Man and also the Armored Core episode, as Ben said, just Keanu Reeves, like hell yeah. And Armored Core 6 has a sick fucking story.
Yeah. Does Christopher Judge make a return as Kratos?
I actually wonder. I assume so.
I
To
think
voice him?
they bring him. Yeah, I think they bring him back.
I can't imagine he'd say no.
No, he would never say no.
I can't. Yeah, and I can't imagine you don't get the original voice of Kratos. So yeah, well, not original.
We
but
saw like
what I mean.
Keanu is in it, so maybe they kind of want a bigger name. But I think they can. I think they bring Judge in.
Yeah, what? Damn it! I was gonna make a joke. I can't think of any actor names that would be funny. Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt is Kratos. Honestly, I like that. No, I don't. I don't like that. Bop. What's your highlight?
My highlight. Ooh, do I want the funny bop answer? Do I? What do I want here?
You can have two highlights.
I mean, I have to
Yeah,
shout
we'll
out
go into.
Roadcraft. I have to shout out Roadcraft. The
Which one was this?
This was in the pre-show. This is the one where it's like a disaster strikes and you use vehicles to like repave roads and like clear out trees, and it's like in the similar vein of Mud Runner and Snow Runner, where you're taking these big emergency vehicles and just like repairing like an area, which is more or less what you do in Snow Runner and Mud Runner too. So that one just obviously like me and Jeff Grubb are the only two people popping for that. But it did look good, and I will say honestly, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the idea. So it's more like repair centric versus Snow Runner.
Yeah, and honestly, the comparison I would try and make is Microsoft. just bear with me here. The comparison I've made between Flight Sim 2020 and 2024, where like 2020, yeah, there are still objectives, and granted, the objectives in Mud Runner and Snow Runner are still objectives. That's not as free wielding as Flight Sim 2020 was, but 2024 Flight Sim, there's clearly like specific objectives they want you to do, and to what it seems like in Roadcraft, there's like much more specific objectives rather than you just driving around and delivering stuff from one place to another. It sounds like a better means for a goal in this, because you're actually trying to repair an area.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I
And
missed that because I wasn't able to catch the pre-show, but I guess that's exciting.
yeah,
I don't want to sound. It's not a
No,
condescending me. I guess I mean that is
you're
exciting.
You're good. You're good. I know it's a very. I'm speaking to like three people here
No, go ahead, man.
on the nicheness of it. But I will say, actually, quick shout out, Dave the Diver keeps doing great crossovers
Dude, that is
in the indie
crazy.
scene. That was awesome.
Electro.
I love that. Yep. And Potion Craft, and the last one is escaping me. It's like a name, but not.
Marvel Rivals.
No. Shut up. Where, whatever. I'll look for it later. But the actual other highlight for me was the Dune Awakening showcase, because that is what I wanted. Like, that was the one deep dive where I'm like, oh, cool. I'm actually learning about what the heck we're doing in this MMO. And it really didn't, like, I know it's a survival MMO, and I am not one of those people. But something about it, like the fact that I was like, oh, it's not just you're, in this one area and you're doing all these things, but it's like you're flying the, dragon wing ship. There's like actual shooting combat, because I feel like a lot of these are like more melee, which maybe that's just my ignorance of the genre, but it did seem like they have a very good idea and very deep gameplay mechanics in this MMO, and it's like, you know what? If I get a group of people together, this might actually be something I could get into.
I respect that. Yeah. Yeah, I think for me with that Dune thing, it just comes down to if you care about the original property as much.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I guess me complaining about Civ not getting a deep dive and then complaining about Doom is a bit hypocritical. So yeah, you know what? That's fair enough, Bob. I fully understand that. It's just, listen, I don't care if people are bored. I want a Civ deep dive.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I guess for me, man, finding a highlight's tough. I guess I would probably want to say my highlight. Honestly, maybe First Berserker Kazan or Mafia. First Berserker Kazan looked substantially better than its last showcase, where the FPS wasn't going at 2 FPS. And I think I got Ben Starr on the.
It does. Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean he's got a lot of roles lately, so shouts to him. But yeah, no, I really I look at that as like that looks substantially more interesting than what we've seen before, and I'm much more intrigued in like wanting to jump in on that.
I agree. Did you sign up for the beta that they kind of put signups for?
Oh shoot, I don't care. I don't really care for
Mhm.
betas. I'm fine with
Mhm.
skipping it. I only care for the Concord beta. That's the only beta I care about.
I'm the
Well,
only
I have
person who
news for
cares.
you about that game.
Well, we'll get to it. But I also Mafia is my other highlight. Not because I'm a Mafia fan. I have not played the games, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm really
I,
grasping at straws here, guys.
no, I do like where they're going the with
Mhm.
that. I think that's specific. It
I love the
reminds
idea.
me,
Yeah.
yeah, it reminds me of when Yakuza did their like feudal Japan one, where it's like, okay, we're having fun
Yeah.
with this. Like, let's really go off the walls. I think this game is going to be a little bit more deep than the Yakuza spinoff was, but should we address how Bench's opinion on Mafia when
From the
he
Middle
reacted
Ages.
to this trailer?
Is this something that we can't say on YouTube?
No, we can. I
No,
just
no,
Okay.
no, no.
Bench, go ahead.
Whoa, 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 whoa! What, Wolf? What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? What do I mean? Racism.
What? That's insane!
It
That's
is.
an
It's
Okay, so it's
accusation.
not racism. All right,
no.
just wanted to make sure.
No,
I
no.
just
I
wanted to make
literally,
sure.
it's.
YouTube
I
gets
thought
mad
it
at me.
was
Arguably equally as ignorant though.
Whoa, whoa! I
But it
thought it
is
was
but it is
taking
PG.
place.
Okay, wait, hang on. Let me guess. He didn't know Mafia were set in Italy.
No,
Close.
Uh,
I thought the old world meant the Middle Ages.
Bro, I
I
thought it was
thought
the
it was.
medieval times.
I thought
Like,
it was. They
what
were
the
doing
fuck?
I thought they were doing a medieval mafia game. That sounds cool.
yeah, like the Mafia were in the Middle Ages for sure.
Hey, you never know what kind of spin can be successful.
100 years ago, by the way. This is taking place 100 years ago.
The old times, exactly. That is so funny.
Oh my god. I love you,
Um,
Bench.
and I did just remember another highlight. The Black Ops 6 gameplay demonstration. That
Oh,
looks
dude,
sick.
yeah,
That did
I'm
look good.
yeah,
very much more invested in checking out that game.
same.
But listen, that's what I needed. I needed a campaign gameplay. Like I don't really play COD games. So I'm the weirdo who plays the campaigns.
Bill Clinton's in the game.
Dude, I got so. Can I just be real? I actually popped off when I saw Bill Clinton.
Same.
I'm like, yo, I know him.
Yeah.
I always bought like it was like Cold War was coming out. I popped off when I saw Reagan. I don't know why. It's just like so cool to see like real life people in a
Mhm.
fucking Call of Duty game.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's get into low lights. I could talk for a couple hours, so I'll let you guys choose a low light. I mean, listen.
Okay.
My low light was just. I'll go quick. This show does not need to be 2 fucking hours. That's my low light. I don't know why this is 2 hours. You do not have 2 hours worth of announcements, especially when you have a pre-show on top of that. So really, it's 2.5 hours. I feel like you could have easily slimmed this down to an hour and a half and probably had just as much substance because it feels like a lot of these were just pay the bills type announcements that didn't really even show anything. Like stuff like
Mhm.
Zenless Zone Zero. I was excited. I'm like, oh wow, okay, am I gonna get something new? Like with the new update? It's like a sneak peek. They weren't joking about the sneak peek. I literally blinked and I missed it. Apparently, like they showed off the new area for like half a second. That's not really a sneak peek. That's literally a screenshot that they basically showed. And stuff like Black Myth Wukong, a game that's out.
Yeah.
Why are you showing a trailer for a game that's out? I don't know. Shit like that.
Yeah.
2
I
hours.
closed
You
my
do not
eyes.
need to be a 2 hour show. That's it.
I'd say my low light that's also kind of a highlight is Monster Hunter Wilds. While I think the game looked good, and I'm glad they showed something that wasn't a desert, I really thought we were going to get a date because they've been having tons of playable demos and weapon trailers and trailers at every event. I genuinely thought this would have been like a January game, but I guess that's not the case, so I think that's a little disappointing.
My assumption is they're waiting for other stuff to kind of fall into place before going for a date.
Yeah, I just
So, like,
mean, everything they're showing makes me think that this was just going to be a lot earlier than I guess it is.
it's fair. But
Yeah,
no,
we kind of talked about that, Bench, or when I watched the gameplay of it, where I'm like, half of the video they showed looked really stiff and really like I agree. I get it. It's a next gen game, and that doesn't necessarily mean better animations, but it did have that Monster Hunter jank. I was hoping they would slowly start, you know, pulling away from and making it just just a little bit smoother and more up to standard with I feel like modern action games. But then at the same time there were some good parts of the footage where I was like, oh, okay, this looks a lot better. And I know previews have said that it looks better from what they showed. So we'll see.
Bob, what about you? What's your low light?
My low light, yeah, I mean, I agree with like there's just a million things that Jeff just puts in here to pay the bills, and that's fine. There's no reason to beat a dead horse on that.
Yeah, we can. It's just a tired conversation. It's just something that's like so noticeable at this point. Of like what feels like something that he's really like, yeah, this is it, and stuff where, hey, we'll give you this amount of money if you let us just throw in a trailer. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like my low light has to be. I want it to be Masters of Albion, but it's too funny to be a low light for me. So
we're gonna talk about that. Don't worry.
honestly, Arc Raiders, like I still don't know. Like people are hyping that game up. It got delayed, and this new trailer did not tell us anything. And I'm like, what? Is this game real? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I still have no idea.
Apparently, people got hands-on with it, or not hands-on. I think they just saw like behind closed door stuff on it, and we're like, "Oh yeah, it looks good." But I'm just like, why not show that at the big show? Right. You have a showcase, why not?
Yeah.
I would say one thing I do kind of want to note. Well, actually, we're gonna note it right now. I want to go through the other like kind of big things that we skipped out on. What's up about Borderlands 4, which started the show? Are either of you Borderlands guys?
No.
No, my name is not Dark, unfortunately.
Okay.
I can watch the movie though.
Y'all, I want you to know. I do not. I hate it when I'm the number one Borderlands fan in the room because I don't even like it that much. I'm just like, I'm indifferent to Borderlands. I'll say this about Borderlands. I could give less of a fuck about the story. So I'm always confused when people are like, Borderlands 3, the gameplay was really fun, but the story is so awful. I hate the game. It's like, there's no shot you played that game for the story. There's no shot you played these games for the story. The writing has never been good. The story has never been good. I play it because I like to grab the guns and shoot the things. Right. That's really all I gave a shit about. So I'm just genuinely shocked when people are like that mad about the story in one of these games. Unless I know me and story in games, we have a complicated history. But like there are games where I'm like, yeah, I care about the story of what's happening. Borderlands is not one of them. Could not tell you anything that happened in Borderlands 3 story.
No, I'll back you up on that. I literally did not play Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Granted, I know spin-off, whatever, but like the writing in what I saw of that game was so bad that I physically could not muster up the energy to like try and get through that.
No, I looked at it, I'm like, oh, a game centered around Tiny Tina. She's annoying. I don't want to play that. Which I mean, yeah, I guess I could just ignore her, but the thing is
the point of the game.
They literally are talking in your ear the whole game. So it's not like I could just skip the cutscenes, But yeah, Borderlands, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'll play it probably. I don't know. It depends on what it looks like. As a trailer, it's fine. I think a lot of people were like, oh, it's only CG. But it's like, this is technically the first announcement of it. I just think it was really silly for them to keep like constantly teasing it on Twitter. And even in like the movie, apparently they teased Borderlands 4 with like a 4 being one of the letters or something. To where it's like, okay, well, now you're just kind of like taking the wind out of the sails of the actual announcement of Borderlands 4. But, I mean, yeah, CG trailer. It looks like they're not on Pandora, which is like the main planet of Borderlands. I don't know. I don't care. Borderlands fans rejoice. But that's the thing. I talked to Borderlands fans, like, we'll see. Because they weren't very... A lot of Borderlands fans felt very... I guess they just haven't been feeling good after 3 and Tiny Tina. And now they're at a point where it's like, I don't know how I feel about this franchise. I'm not as invested as I used to be. So... I don't know. Borderlands 4 kind of... I feel like it would have been a bigger announcement like 5 years ago, like Borderlands 3 was. Because if you guys remember, Borderlands 3 was
that was a huge reaction, yeah.
Yeah, because like that was like, oh, finally a sequel to Borderlands 2, the game that everyone loved. And it just didn't really... It didn't set the world on fire than I think a lot of them were expecting it to. So yeah, God bless you, Borderlands. Now I'm never gonna talk about Borderlands again. It's over.
Happy for my
baby.
friend Dark.
He's just gonna hate it and replay too.
Yeah, really. I don't even really like Dark that much. Dying Light the Beast. I thought this was interesting. It seems to be a Dying Light spinoff. Looked interesting, but like I think the most interesting part about this is that it's still on PS4 and Xbox One. It's like, man, we're never gonna abandon those systems.
Yeah.
But yeah, not much to say there. I don't think any of us are Dying Light super fans. I guess there was an Infinity Nikki trailer that I just wanted to bring up real quick. That was hilarious. I just thought that was a really funny trailer. And also, I wanted to bring up, where is it? Oh, Starfield DLC. As we actually got some previews of what Starfield DLC is going to be like. We had an update that came out the day of Gamescom. And then Okami Games put this on Twitter. Sci-fi horror vibes comparable to Fear. Combat intensive with a bigger focus on close quarters. Self-contained plot on a handcrafted location. Visit the homeworld of House of Varun, where space has literally shattered. Oh, I get it now. Planet has a more alien feel, atmosphere comparable to Fear, releasing September 30th on Xbox and PC for $30. Bob, does this get you in the mood for Starfield? You're gonna jump right into this, and the update as well for the Land Rover.
Honestly, yes. Yeah. Shout out. Was it the Rev 8? Is that what they called it?
Yeah.
Shout out to the Rev 8. That was a much needed. That was one of my biggest gripes, especially in New Game Plus, where you are just going to the planets to get. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, even though it's almost been a year, but just like to do objectives on some of the planets, you know, you're just like bouncing around in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, cool. I want a car. That would be nice. And they're finally giving that to me. But yeah, as far as the DLC goes, I am not the biggest proponent of going back to playing DLC in games, but with Starfield, I definitely had, obviously, the more I've been on since post launch, the colder I've been on it, and where I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but my issues have become like, the more my opinions settle, the more I'm like, eh. And I think that's why I want to go back, because it's like, okay, we have unfinished business here. I know what I played is not the final vision of what this game can be, and it's like, all right, let me see what you got now, because I think you have a chance to really get me back in and entice me. So yes, I will definitely be there as close to day one as possible.
Do you think that since this is a handcrafted location, it's going to make a lot of people think about what could have been?
Absolutely. I think the procedural generated stuff, as much as I wanted to believe that they would figure it out, they clearly didn't. And yeah, it will further reinforce that they handcrafted was the way to go.
Man, I was watching back some old podcasts, bro. I was way too excited about Starfield. You guys should
The meal prep we did is some of the like, oh, I
worst
wince.
aped
I
content.
wince when I go back and look at that.
We're so excited. Oh, God bless you, Starfield. Well, it's good to at least see it's being updated, and the fans seem to be very happy with it. Civilization 8 got some gameplay. I keep reading it as 8.
Keep doing
7.
that.
I don't know why. I see the VII and my brain's like VR. Oh, 3 eyes, like Black Ops 3 or something. I don't know.
Crazy.
But yeah, Civilization 7. Watch, when Civilization 8 happens, I'm gonna keep saying it's Civilization 7. But yeah, we got some gameplay. Like I said earlier, not too much to really jump off. I was kind of hoping for a bit more. I was looking at some interviews and like some deep dives. They showed off the game some more with like other. I think it was some previews and stuff, and they seem to actually really be changing up the formula quite a bit about like having maybe multiple nation leaders under one capital. It looks a lot more interesting than Civ has looked. It looks a lot more interesting than I was expecting. I was basically expecting like Civilization 6 2.0, but it seems like it's actually like really taking that 7 all the way through. So I'm gonna be interested to see what it looks like moving forward. Bob, I wanted to ask you about Towerborn, more specifically, like what you think of the game, if you're interested at all. I don't know if you are, but I saw a weird controversy within the Xbox community about like early access being on Steam, September 10th, but not Xbox. I'll be honest, I don't really see that as a big deal at all, but it seems to make a lot of people upset. So if you could just enlighten me
Of
how
course,
Xbox fans are feeling.
I would be more than happy to. Real quick, before we get there, you saying Civilization 8 made me realize, what if they call it Civilization with an 8?
Oh, do the Resident Evil thing?
That'd be so sick.
Dude, I would fucking lose my shit. I don't. That's the thing. They probably could have done that with like the current Civilization. Or
No. Like, because literally
Oh.
AT make it an 8, like Civilization, like the number.
Oh, yeah. No, I see now. Okay, that's actually
Which is worse, by the way. That's a worse idea. But it's just I just can't stop thinking about that now. Anyway,
I'm into it now.
Towerborn. Yeah. So this one it's not being made by an Xbox studio, but it is being published by Xbox Game Studio. So it's one of those third-party publisher deals. And the marketing, from what I understand, the whole time has been Xbox and PC, but obviously a emphasis on Xbox. And the part that I think, I mean, I think the only reason this is a controversy is because of the overall sentiment in the Xbox community right now, which is in the dumpster, and it's just more fuel for the fans that are only a fan of the console and feel like they are being treated like second-class citizens as a whole, which I think to an extent they have gripes on, but overall it is an exaggerated point. But anyway, the problem is that it's been marketed for Xbox this whole time, with some PC involvement, and then Xbox. I mean, we literally saw it with Palworld. Xbox has a game preview option for games in early access like Palworld. And Palworld released both on Steam and on Xbox Partner Preview simultaneously. So why Towerborn, which is being published by Xbox, is not like Palworld wasn't even published by Xbox. They just had the Game Pass deal. So why a complete third-party company could do it that way, but Towerborn and I am blanking on the name of that studio. Not Larian, but it sounds like Larian.
Towerborn Studios.
Name is escaping me, but you'll probably tell me in a second.
The studio who made Towerborn?
Yeah.
Developer.
It's because they made oh my god,
Stoic,
yes.
Banner Saga. They did Banner Saga.
Correct. Yes. Okay. It's weird to me that they are only doing Steam Early Access. It's not weird that they're doing Steam Early Access. That makes the most sense of all time, because look at Hades 2, look at No Rest for the Wicked, look at pretty much any prominent early access game. It's going to Steam first. What's weird is you're making such a big deal about the Xbox partnership and then not even attempting to have a simultaneous release on Xbox or any of the Xbox platform. And I think that's where people are upset. And I think there's not really a reason that they have said to justify it. And it's, as much as I don't like the and we'll talk about this later, the rip the Band-Aid off thing, you really do have to just come out and say, hey, we couldn't prioritize the Xbox release, sorry. Like, we're just working on the Steam Early Access thing right now.
They did have an answer basically saying, well, we wanted it to be in a better spot before we kind of let it off into the console wilderness with the Xbox Early Access, because it feels like that would lead to a much bigger audience, and we want to get the smaller audience with Steam Early Access first before we do that. I don't get it, because it's like, I don't know how big this audience for this game is going to be. Not that it looks bad, it looks awesome, but it's just like, I don't know where the like millions of people playing this game is looking at.
Right. And I will say the other thing that is interesting about all of this that I think plays a factor is that on Steam, so the game is free to play. They've already said it's going to be a free to play game. However, the only way as of right now, to be able to play the game on Steam is if you pre-purchase the Founders Pack, which has early access in it, which is $25.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
makes
where it's like, oh, okay, so now it's $25 and that's the only platform you can play it on. So the people who really want to play it, they will cash in on that and then go free to play. And so it's like, again, I feel like they're not being completely honest with their audience. And that's where it's like, all right, I don't like how you're handling this. And so it just goes into a whole big other thing. But yeah, that's the sum of it.
I will say I don't think it's gonna really affect the launch of the game or like how it's viewed by Xbox fans personally. I think this will kind of just be like a small blip on the radar for it. But I get what I'm glad you explained that.
Like I said, the only reason I think it's such a big deal is because of the other Xbox news that's going on. That like this is just like they can't.
Yeah,
It would have slid a lot harder under the radar had everything else that's going on not happen.
Oh, we'll get into that in a bit. But first, there's just two more things I want to highlight from Gamescom. Batman Arkham Shadow, VR expert Bob. I gotta be real. I got motion sick looking at this game. Is that a type of game that you would get motion sick playing?
See, that's what's interesting. I thought it looked great. Like
It looks good. I just feel like I'm gonna get motion sick.
So, ironically, the games I have gotten the most motion sickness on while playing VR are the ones where you teleport, where you like point the stick out into the distance and then you just move there. That to me, I get much more motion sickness on than ones where I manually move myself. So, I actually disagree. I think because this is more, they didn't show it, so maybe it's still in the game, but it seems more, and a lot of the newer, at least MetaQuest games, have gone around that teleportation dilemma and they have started to add more natural movement. And I think that would play better than the teleportation option. But no, I didn't get motion sickness. And honestly, I'm very much looking excited to this. I really want to try and play this when it comes out.
Fair enough. Moving into our very last thing that I wanted to talk about from Gamescom. The GOAT, Mike King, regarded as one of the greatest game developers of all time by someone out there. Masters of Albion from Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux taking the stage in his grand debut after the Curiosity Cube and NFTs. He was like, I'm feeling like making a game. Listen, I'm not into this genre of game, so like the God game genre, not for me, but I will say it didn't look that interesting.
It looked bad.
It looked bad.
Okay. I wanted to be a little nicer.
Nope.
But yeah, no, it doesn't look interesting.
Like, whenever you took over the guy and started doing the melee combat, and it literally looked like the most generic thing on the earth,
Looked like
it just made my eyes roll. Yeah, it looked bad.
I don't know. Maybe we could let him cook. I mean, he made Fable like 20 years ago. So that's something. Yeah, I don't know. I will say it was funny seeing Jeff go, you've made promises in the past. And it's like, why do you ought to talk about it then? Like, you know that he's kind of like, I don't think he's like a malicious liar or anything. I just think he's like, gets so overexcited
He's
and just
ambitious.
starts spewing shit out of his mouth. He needs to be reined in. And I will say, at least he didn't oversell the game. It never felt like he was like, oh, and then you could do this and this. It was like, yeah, this is my new game. But then there was stuff afterwards about the idea of like if he can even use the word Albion. And my God, that is the most like, I don't even want to get into that rabbit hole. If you,
I think it makes sense though. I think I have an understanding of what's going on.
So basically, I don't want to get into it. And then Bob's like, well, we're getting into it.
You know, I want to get it. just a little bit.
It's effectively, from what I saw, I got an explanation from a lawyer. He can use the name, since it is a real place in England in the past. That was what England was called in the past, Albion.
Yeah, England and Wales. Yep.
Yeah, you can use the name as long as your world isn't like a one-to-one replica of like Fable's Albion, basically, is what I kind of got the understanding. Yes. I still think it's like, you can't think of a different name. That's all I'll think. But yeah,
No, but I think that's where he's trying to like toe this line, and where I do think he's genuinely trying to be malicious, because he's like, "Oh, it's from the world of Fable." It's like, okay, well, the world of Fable is copyrighted, and he goes, "No, it's not, because the name is like free access or free market." It's like, yes, but the Fable world is a specific version, and you've already specifically referenced that version, so you can't just have it both ways and be like, oh well, because the name of it is Albion, then and that's a real place, that's fine. It's like, I think the common example was like, Assassin's Creed 3 America. You can call anything you want America, but if it looks exactly like Assassin's Creed 3 version of America, you no longer have that intellectual property. So I just think he's trying to do a bait and switch and trying to cash in on former fame and glory from 20 years ago. And
let him cook. That's my goat for a reason.
Okay, something. He's just a delight.
I listen, I will say, when he did come up on stage, I got a little excited. Because I'm like, I can't believe he's showing his face on a big gaming stage again. That's exciting.
It was a little nostalgic.
Yeah. But that's Gamescom. Talked a lot about it, a lot more than I expected. I guess, it's a bop episode. You guys
Okay, hold on. I did not bring up like half of these topics. That's fine. I'll take the blame. You know what? You're right. I'll take the blame.
Moving into our next topic. Semi-related to Gamescom. Indiana Jones, when it was shown off, we can talk about the previews in a second, but this is kind of the big story that came out of it. Was Jeff was like, and Machine Games has one more thing to show you, and I'll be real, I a lot of people didn't notice
Wolfenstein, right?
I thought Wolfenstein, and a lot of other people I knew, because I was watching the Kind of Funny reaction, and they all thought Wolfenstein, and I got really hyped, and then it was like, from Indiana Jones. It's like, I'm not joking when I say this is my new least favorite game of all time, just for that. But either way, pissed off. But they announced a PS5 version. They did announce the date for the Xbox version, which was December 9th.
Yes.
And the PS5 version is spring of 2025. Phil Spencer put onto the stand at Gamescom, had to explain himself, jury present and everything. Shinobi has
this is being
framed. Speaking at Gamescom, Xbox boss Phil Spencer says Indiana Jones coming to PS5 is a strategy that works for us. Quote, we said we were going to learn from launching the 4 games last year. We said we'd watch. What I see when I look at our franchises are getting stronger. Our Xbox console players are as high as this year than they've ever been. We run a business. It's definitely true inside of Microsoft. The bar is high for us in terms of delivery. We have to get back to the company because we get a lot of support from the company. That's just amazing in what we're able to do. People are always looking for ways to grow. The industry is changing. I think us as fans, as players of games, we just have to anticipate he talks so much. There's going to be more change in how some of the traditional ways games are built and distributed. That's going to change. The end result has to be better games that more people can play. I swear to God, I think in that whole statement, he said, games change, play 30 times. I'm exhausted, but a lot of word salad to basically say, yeah, this is I don't know. I don't know what he said, if I'm being real. You're going to see more Xbox games come to PS5. There's your big news headline. Something that, let's be real, I think a lot of people aren't shocked about, aren't surprised about. It seems like this is definitely the direction Microsoft is going towards. I will say this is not how I expected it. I didn't think they would announce it before the game even came out on Xbox. That's definitely the real surprise, and the feeling that a lot of Xbox fans are really feeling more, I guess, betrayed. But I also don't know how big of a deal it is. I feel like I don't know how big of a deal this headline is in comparison to the headline from February. Because that's when I feel like that's when the strategy very much fully shifted and we saw the strategy kind of shift. This is just more on top of the strategy being shifted that we kind of knew about.
The people that are surprised are the people that thought the 4 games were going to be the only 4 games that ever come to another console.
Yeah. But I mean, I saw a lot of people weirdly very adamantly shocked by this. And I was shocked, but not shocked, but I was a little confused by the idea of announcing it before it even comes out on Xbox. I want to hear Bob talk about this on the stand as well. Not kidding.
Yes, let
But-
me put my hand over the Bible real quick and I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, so I think the reason why this is a headline is because this is the first new game. It's one thing for the other exclusive to come over that have been out for a while. I think even if it was Starfield, it would be different because Starfield has been out for almost a year. But this game isn't even out yet, and they are now ripping the Band-Aid off. And I think that is, while not as significant as the original announcement, I agree, Wolf, still significant because I think everyone now points to Blade is going to be the other one that comes up now where it's like, oh yeah, if Indy is coming out on PlayStation 6 months later, there's no way Blade stays exclusive. There's just no way, especially with these licensed products. And I think now we are once again back in the is blank exclusive, which I thought we were done with that, and now the can of worms is open back up where it's like any game that Xbox has announced from a first party could be coming to PlayStation. And I think it's fair to assume now that like Elder Scrolls 6 and granted Doom has already been announced for PlayStation 5, Doom the Dark Ages, but again that's like a new property. So it's not a new property; it's an existing IP. So
existing IP, new game.
right, and it just is once again another shift in the strategy we are seeing from Xbox, and it's clear that like because the other thing that I think I want to push back on just a little bit from the general sentiment is like the people who are like, oh, I told you Game Pass wasn't going to work and I told you these games weren't going to be exclusive. It's like, okay, but that's not like necessarily true because I don't think anyone realized, because I think we can all be on the same page. If Phil was still 100% in charge like he was in 2019, 2020, whatever, these games would be exclusive. I genuinely wholeheartedly believe that. But I don't think anyone had the foresight to, and granted, that's also not true because I think the Activision purchase was a big deal, but I don't think anyone was thinking that Satya and Microsoft proper and the shareholders and those people would start coming down on Xbox this hard to be like, no, we're changing everything. And that's where we are at this moment where it's clear, like you can even tell just from Phil's general overall presence this year that it's clear that he is not he doesn't even feel like the leader anymore because it's not his decisions anymore and it seems like it's coming from a higher up place. So it just, this is more of more of that change, and we should expect this going forward. And then the last point I want to point out is that I think there's a lot of disingenuous reporting on this specific topic, or not even disingenuous reporting, but just like reactions, because everyone's like, oh yeah, duh, like they want to make more money, so they're putting it on PlayStation. It's like, no, that's not the point of why this announcement makes no sense. You are announcing it for PlayStation 5 when you literally cannot pre-order it on PlayStation 5. Go on the store right now. There is not a pre-order page where you can put down a credit card. So my thought is,
right?
yeah, you can only wishlist it. So, and you can right now pre-order the Xbox and PC version. So then my question to you is, okay, if you're wanting to make money, how does this make Xbox any more money? Doesn't, because you're not getting any sales yet from the PlayStation audience, and you were arguably always going to get those sales whether you announce it now or whether you announce it in April or whenever the rumored launch date is in the spring. I don't think that changes. The only thing this does by telling people it's going to be on PlayStation now is completely remove the question mark for people that were on the fence. And sure, maybe 10 people were going to buy an Xbox and invest in the Game Pass. because they really want to play Indiana Jones and they weren't sure if it was going to be on PlayStation. But you telling us now just completely confirms if anyone that has a PlayStation 5 was on the fence, they'd be like, oh, no, I'm just going to wait. Like, you're not even giving them the opportunity to cash in on FOMO like PlayStation does with their games, where it's like, we're not going to tell you when it comes to PC. Sure, you can guess, but if you really want to play Rebirth, or you really want to play 16, or you really want to play God of War, Spider-Man 2, like, you got to play it now. Sure, eventually it will come to a different platform, but we're not going to tell you. Why would we waste the opportunity of you potentially getting a console for that? And that's where it's like, this does not make Xbox any more money. It just tells like the potential of getting more investment into your community. Even if it's not much, it's definitely a zero now, because people know they can have it on different platforms. So that's my rant, Your Honor. Take it for what you will.
Life.
I'm gonna play Indie on PS5 now. I'm just gonna wait. On the PS5 Pro, I'll just play it on that.
Life in prison, but I'm sorry.
Okay,
I don't
fair.
make the rules.
I mean, it's life in prison being an Xbox fan anyway, but I'm just kidding. I still like the platform.
That's kind of my thing. My issue, and you kind of really brought up into this. Why are they so 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Just say fuck it and say, yeah, our games are all coming to PlayStation. We're going to have versions of these games on PlayStation 5. All of them. You will play them all. I don't know why you keep some games exclusive, some games not. This weird 1 foot in, 1 foot out approach just doesn't work, because it gets people confused and ranting and waving. It's annoying. Just say, hey, fuck it. Starfield's coming to PlayStation 5. What else are they making? Avowed is coming to PlayStation 5.
I mean,
everything is coming.
It's what's kept them in the news like every week this entire year. It's because they won't say it. There's constant rumors flowing about what's going to happen, and it just always causes them to be in the conversation in a mostly negative way.
Yeah, why not? Let's have Astrobot in the news.
Yeah, I still disagree with that, though, because now, granted, now that they're saying this, I don't know anymore. Yeah, why not rip the Band-Aid off? If you clearly don't care, just rip it off. But before the indie announcement was made, my thought process was, well, why would you give a roadmap of these things when you still could have investment just based out of sheer FOMO? Because it's like I said, like, PlayStation doesn't tell you when their games are coming to PC. They don't want to have that option of you to wait in their mind. Why would Xbox offer the same, situation? Why give clarity on that when all it does is hurt your platform? Yes, you're going to make money on the other platform, but you were always going to make money on the other platform when that game comes. You don't have to tell us 2 years beforehand, because all that does is hurt the platform that you own, which is just crazy to me.
It's just like a weird strategy to basically not cash in on FOMO and not cash in on day and date release. Because a lot of people, less people are going to be interested after the release date of it originally on Xbox. You're going to get less sales than you would have if it came out on PS5 day and date. And it kind of seems like this was not a last minute, but like a recent decision to bring it to PlayStation, at least relatively so. Because last time the FTC trials showed that they originally had a PS5 port ready for Indiana. I wish there was a quick Indie, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a release date planned for it, or the PS5 version planned, and then Xbox canned that version because they were like, "Whoa, we're gonna make it exclusive." And now they're like, "Okay, make a PS5 version again, bro." If I'm Machine Games, I'm like, "God damn it, can you just which one, man?" We knew about that with Redfall as well. That originally had a PS5 version. So I don't know. I feel like you're just at this point where it's like, open the floodgates for all the brand new games, maybe stuff that's like legacy, like. Maybe you can try to avoid having to make a PS5 port, because it's like, oh, well, it's already on the platform. We don't want to spend development time working on, it's effectively a port that's not going to do as well. But also, it's like, if Halo came to PlayStation, that's going to do numbers.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves, I know that's not a news story this week, but Sea of Thieves sold 1 million copies at least on PlayStation so far. Like, that is a significant number for a, 6-year-old game?
6 years old, yep.
Yeah, and like Halo would do better than that. I'm sure Gears probably would too, and I bet you like a Forza Horizon would as well.
100%. It just feels like it feels like they have I wish they would just kind of accept, like, yeah, we're a third-party publisher. We're the biggest third-party publisher that also makes hardware. There you go. That's a good space to be in my opinion.
I agree. Like it's because right now it is frustrating as someone who is very involved in the community. Not involved, but I'm paying attention. Where we don't, there are things like, and we'll get to, I'm sure, Wukong later, but it's like you're losing out on Wukong and Baldur's Gate 3. Your console is seemingly harder to develop for it. You don't have the same marketing. You're not getting the same exclusives. You're not like, it's just weird because at the end of the day, we're always like, oh, well, Xbox has the backing of Microsoft, so they have all of these like options to them. And it sounds like as the years go on, it sounds like, no, actually, that makes it worse because they don't want to spend as much money and they think they can do, whatever they want. Yeah, and then on top of just recently, I think the other reason they're not ripping the Band-Aid off is because it still feels like there is a tug of war going on between the Xbox staff and the Microsoft execs, and I just at this point I am growing numb to it, and I'm just like, listen, just make the games good on Xbox, support the platform because I don't want to change, and none of this news for me is going to make me not invest in the space. But at the same time, it's like, as long as there is a way I can play Xbox with my gamer, not my gamer tag, my profile, and have my achievements, and I don't know why, but I mean, I guess that's part of my profile. But just give me a platform to play that on. I don't really care about the rest of it anymore because it seems like they're not invested in improving the space, and it's like, that's fine. Just give me the bare minimum to keep going, which is a very defeatist take on it, if I'm being honest.
I mean, it's kind of like digging a little bit, but like the games are going to launch in better states on the PlayStation console than they are on Xbox, and that's weird.
Bob, listen, is it okay if I say I really fucking hate the Xbox Series S? Because I almost feel like that kind of brings down a lot of game development in general and slows stuff down. And I feel like we could have advanced a lot faster if developers didn't have to keep worrying about the Series S in a way. Maybe it's like developing for a lesser PC. Maybe it's not as like severe as like I'm making it out to be. I'd love to have like a technical expert kind of talk with me about it. It's like, well, no, it's not this, but it's just the way I look at it, it's like there's always like, it's an issue on Series S. It's an issue on Series S. We can't do multiplayer on Series S like with Baldur's Gate 3. It's like there's a constant like thing that's happening, and I'm just kind of sick of hearing Xbox Series S.
Yeah, and I can't see a world where Wukong runs on a Series S. And that needed to run on a Series S to also like be available on Series X, and that's one of the biggest games in the world right now, and it is not on Xbox, and that isn't a great look.
Yeah, but they said the same thing about Baldur's Gate 3. It's not that it can't run on Series S. It can definitely run. It's just it takes more time, and that's what we see. I mean, part of the Rev 8 update for Starfield is that 60 FPS finally did come to Series S for that game. So it's not right, and that's why it's like, it's not really, because again, if you are making a complete multi-platform game, the Switch 2, whatever it is, the current Switch, and like half of the PC market are still running on specs inferior to the Xbox Series S. So it's not like it's just not that big of a stopgap. I think what it comes down to is game development is taking a longer time, and on top of that, like, they just, executives and publishers and whatever want faster turnaround time. So to meet those goals, they don't want to commit more to the Series S to get it to work to Xbox standard, and that's fine. And I think but it's not like this big bottle gap that, like, if the Series S didn't exist, gaming would be that, that picture where it's like the future if X didn't exist. We're not like, that is not the future if the Series S did exist. We would still be in almost the same exact spot.
I guess I think I wouldn't say like that's the future. I just think like I'm thinking about like the years coming up. Like as games get more and more advanced, like are they going to be held back by the Series S? And that's kind of a question I'm having. I wouldn't say like right now that's something I'm thinking the Series S is single-handedly doing. But sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to say that real quick.
No, you're good. I still don't think so. I think the only holdback is time, and developers don't want to spend that time, which is fine. And I think the bigger problem is Xbox knew this, and they don't have a team dedicated to that extra optimization. They are forcing the devs to do that, and I do think that is unfair because how are you going to make a weaker system and then be like, oh, that's y'all's problem? It's like, no, you guys have like really smart engineers at Xbox. I know they do. Like Jason Ronald and what he has done with the back compat and the Series X optimizations, like they know their shit. So the fact that you aren't offering that to devs that need it, unless it's an emergency like Baldur's Gate 3, like it should not get to an emergency. Like it just further reinforces that like Xbox themselves are not supporting their own company as much as I think they should. And but at the end of the day, I don't think that's necessarily like this big bottle gap for the industry.
That's fair. That's a good answer. You're off the hook. You can leave the courtroom.
Woo!
Now, the person
We'll
I
be
want
back
to
later,
put.
though.
Yeah, right. I will be, unfortunately.
Trust me, listen, I know it sounds like we're being dogging on Xbox. I have a lot to say about Sony later. So
True.
don't worry. Nintendo out of the news. They were smart. They're like, we got nothing to say.
They got a museum. That's cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, I was tempted to put that in, but I was like, I don't know how much I could say other than it looks
It's
sick.
a museum.
Big
It
Wii
looks
remote.
cool.
I want to
Yeah.
go there really badly.
Yeah,
I
watch
really
the
do.
direct. Go watch it.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, Miyamoto's so awesome. He's so wholesome. But I got some previews. I want to put the Silent Hill 2 developers on the stage on the courtroom. This is a really lame gimmick. I'm not gonna do that anymore. Silent Hill 2 remake. We got some previews. Okami Games put out some stuff. Positive impressions overall. Faithful adaptations. After playing the first 3 hours, my fears have melted away. That's a quote. 60 FPS mode confirmed. That's an important thing for later. Don't worry. Dodge button and aiming reticle added to make combat smoother. More explorable buildings than the original. Monsters are more aggressive. New puzzles. Zones have been expanded and item locations moved around. Woodside and Blue Creek apartment layout. Ooh, reworked. Okay, I'm reading a lot of this for the first time. Pyramid Head apartment encounter reworked. All original endings included, plus brand new ones and New Game Plus. That's the one I really excited for. Combat is smoother, although Blooper Team stresses Silent Hill 2 is not a combat-oriented game. Tense sound design, dense thick fog. UE5 Lumen technology confirmed for PS5, releasing on October 8th.
Okay, are you buying this now?
No.
No?
It's 3 days before Metaphor.
Okay, you have my pass. But is this a game now that will be near the top of the backlog? Like, will this be something you plan to check out either December, January?
The previews look a lot better. The gameplay looks a lot better. I am a lot more positive on it. I'm still very much the wait and see, but I will be checking this game out most likely because I think if they can capture the all original endings confirmed, everything they're saying about it being very faithful, that's all I really care about. I love that game to death. I'm very interested to see what they can do. I don't think it's going to replace the original. I don't really want remakes to do that. I just want to see like what's a modern spin on this classic. And I don't know. It looks a lot better.
Yeah, we can move on now. Wolf is playing Metaphor Day 1. We won.
What did you think I wasn't going to? Why?
Listen, man, I'm. You never know.
Bench somehow turned this topic into Metaphor. That's crazy.
That's a
no. Okay,
I was
no, I will say, yeah, I mean, I think me and Fusion have definitely been the most positive on it. Like, and the first trailer, I think we all agree was bad, but I think its reappearance a couple months ago, me and Fusion were like, okay, this looks very good. I just think, yeah, October's a busy time, but it's definitely something I will be playing eventually, because it looks very good.
I just remembered something. So, Metaphor is on the 11th, right?
Correct.
When's Mario Party?
The next week.
Are those really
okay.
going to contrast with each
sorry,
other?
buddy. skipping metaphor. I'm a Mario Party guy.
That's crazy. I mean,
Okay,
listen,
the
I'm
game
also
of the year.
going to be-
100 hours day one on Mario Party. No,
Those two games can coexist. I promise you.
Yeah, Mario Party. They're in on Thursday though, because Nintendo stupidly now does Thursday releases.
Dude,
That's
so weird.
crazy.
I don't know why Fusion keeps gaslighting me. That's like, oh, game developers always do that. So weird. Anyways, yeah, but Silent Hill 2, back on topic. Bob, any interest?
No, not my genre. Never played it. But I will say the one thing is I am genuinely happy for Bloober Team because they have been like
they beat the allegations.
honestly, like they have been the easiest punching bag in the industry for like 4 years now, ever since the Medium came out. And I do like feel bad for them, and there was not a lot of good sentiment coming into this, knowing they were like when they announced who the devs were, everyone was like, "Oh, good God, this is not going to end well." So if this is a good sign that like, hey, you know what? Maybe they are beating the allegations. So on that side, I am happy for them.
These previews caused their stock price to rise.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when Emio there was a rumor that Bloober Team was working on it, and everyone was like, "Oh, I'm not interested anymore."
Yeah,
like, and that's very much what Bob's talking about. It's
yeah,
like,
their name is just so toxic in the sense that like they're not a good association before, Silent Hill 2. So I'm hoping they can finally turn that stigma around.
I mean, maybe they become the Silent Hill devs if they're good enough with this.
Okay, so now let's calm down. They're doing a remake. They're not making a brand new game. The new game, Silent Hill F, that's the one I'm much more interested in.
What another Silent Hill game that's out? What would you want to be remade? Like, if you could pick one.
The first one. I'm weirded out by that they skipped it too. I feel like the first one makes more sense.
Wasn't 2 the one everyone loves?
Well, yeah, it's the fan favorite, but I was like, one probably benefits more from a remake. But
I mean, that's what they did with Metal Gear as well.
I wish they would at least just do a collection like they did with Metal Gear, because those games cost $100, and the HD collection on PS3 and 360 is awful. So it's like,
Metal Gear,
something.
Metal Gear has never really left the conversation, but I think Silent Hill kind of like is not as big as Metal Gear. So maybe if the remake sells really well, then they bring it back to get a collection going.
That's the thing; it's not allowed to do as well because they won't re-release and get a good collection.
Who knows? They could though if the remake does well. That could. Like they're doing with Metal Gear and have done. They have investing more in that because there's stuff to invest in. And the remake is kind of like the first thing that we were really seeing from Silent Hill in a long time.
I hope so. I want to be a guy who says, "Man, I love Konami." It's like because they work on legitimately my favorite franchises of all time, like Castlevania, Metal Gear. Everyone knows how much of a fanboy I am for that franchise. It's just like. So many recent years it has been rough, but at least MGS3 and Silent Hill 2 both look very high quality, both fan favorite video games. If they can get those out and then maybe do new things in those franchises that are just as good, I'll turn the corner on Konami and maybe be a fan once again. Maybe they suck, who knows. Anyways, next thing. Black Myth Wukong, very much the big talk of the town at the moment with the gaming industry. It sold 10 million units across all platforms. Yeah. And it reached 2 million concurrent peak on Steam and 3 million concurrent players across all platform at its peak. It is did this all in 3 days, which, if you remember, in 2022, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold 10 million in 3 days. That is a Pokemon game. So this is selling as well as a Pokemon game, which is fucking insane.
People like it.
I mean, I think it's just kind of goes to show how much of an untapped market China really is.
Yeah, for sure.
If you make a game based off Chinese history, it's a Chinese developer making a game based off like a famous historical Chinese story that means a lot to a lot of people, that's been adapted 100 times in Chinese literature, plays, books, a lot of modern media in general, taking influence from Journey to the West. You make a game based off that looks as good as it does, that plays as well as it does. It's very much a AAA game. People are going to want to fucking play it. And it is interesting. We barely see a lot of people. Like, we don't get to hear stuff going on in China. But recently, a lot of people have been noticing. It's like, Yeah, PS5s are being sold out because of Black Myth Wukong because people want to play it, and there's literally graphics cards in China that under the description it's like can play Black Myth Wukong. So it kind of shows just how massive this game is for that country. So props to Game Science. They did a great job. I'm hopefully going to try to pick it up in the next. I think I'm going to wait till after. Again, wait till Astrobot. Then I'm going to be interested, you know? I don't know why.
This is a big game, and like I'll talk more about it later, but like it's side content like Elden Ring, where you feel like you're missing out if you don't do it. So you're going to want to do everything in this game, and it's a large game, so you have to think about that.
Okay, I have a question.
Oh, here we go.
Do we think this ends up at the Keeley 6
No.
for Game Awards?
Nope.
I think there's a big possibility
Because this is
what
such
else
such an interesting game where it like granted, okay, Pokemon, yeah, we know that was like what a 70 something on Metacritic.
Hey, hop off my goat.
Buddy, you know I'm a big Pokemon defender
Yeah,
and I
I know.
hate Scarlet and Violet, but
Okay, hate's a strong word. The
yeah,
open
no,
world
actually
is
that's
cool.
not true. I hate the
Yeah.
technical performance of Scarlet.
Yeah, it's a
and
joke
Violet.
of a technical performance.
I actually did
Fine.
really like what they were doing there. They just didn't execute. But point is,
anyways,
like I like this is such an interesting disconnect of like, yes, this game sold a lot and obviously China plays a big factor into that. But what does that mean for the overall like conversation of the game and like how good it actually is? You know what I mean? Like,
okay, well let's think about it right now. Of the Keeley 6, we know for a fact Rebirth's probably going to be on there.
yeah,
Helldivers?
no,
I think that's
No.
possible.
so no.
I think that it was a very big moment in time. A lot of people played it and played it extensively.
But it didn't review that high.
It
One of
reviewed
the-
at the 80s.
Yeah, but like so did Wukong.
Well, most games review in the 80s, really.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would say, and like, I don't even know about Dragon's Dogma, honestly.
No,
I think
doesn't-
Dragon's Dogma almost lost out on the conversation just because of the technical issues.
I agree.
I think
think
we're also realizing how much more niche Dragon's Dogma is than it actually is.
But it
Because
always
we're-
was. I think that was the thing, though. That game was
I felt
super
like it was gonna be
niche,
a great game.
and then it got hyped up, and then it turns out, yeah, actually, no, it was still niche. And I
Yeah.
think it kind of settled down.
And I saw a lot of Dragon's Dogma fans afterwards say, "Yeah, I was disappointed. It was not
Yeah.
what I wanted."
100%.
I think
Yeah, go ahead.
well, I think Wukong does not make it in the 6, but I think it can win the fan vote because obviously it's got
Oh,
the fans.
100%.
Oh my god,
But
yeah!
I just-
Chinese
It's
players
gonna
are allowed to
dominate
vote.
the fan vote.
Not even a debate.
Even
What?
then, just certain. Yeah, I just
I-
don't think it's.
Sorry, you can go ahead.
Well, I just don't think it's like as quality as some of the other 6 that I'd put up there. But I think it's like it has like an 80 on OpenCritic. I'd probably give it like 4 or 5 more points from what I've played. But like I don't think this is one of the best games like ever.
Right.
I'll say
And I-
this: if Wukong gets up there, but Astrobot doesn't, I'm boycotting the Game Awards.
Like,
That's
do we
all I'm
want to
saying.
do quick predictions for the 6?
Yeah, Astrobot and 5 other like games that no one cares about.
One of the Ubisoft games. in
It's
Rebirth.
I think Outlaws has a chance. I am so high on that game. I really do think that could be one of the
Does
games. of the year.
Balatro have a chance?
Before we get
Balatro.
into the sex pop, you were gonna say something real quick, and then bench.
Yeah,
spat on you.
I just feel like, is anyone saying, I know it's early, but like, is anyone saying Wukong's even better than the Elden Ring DLC?
No one's saying that.
Exactly. So
people-
it's like, and I know Elden Ring's DLC isn't, well, we don't know. It could
It
be.
better not
nominated.
be.
It could be.
It
I
could
don't
be.
think
I
it will
don't
be.
see it being, but it's like, how can you say that Wukong is, not even the best in its genre? You know, so it's like, I don't know. But I could still it's a weird year for the Game Awards, so I could easily see it being there. I just feel like the sales numbers and what the game actually is, like, it's the same as Power World. Like, I was the only one defending Power World at the beginning of the year, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, it sold a lot, but like, the game's not that great. So it's a weird thing, and I don't want to discount Wukong because like it is a good success, and I think that it's awesome that that developer switched from mobile to a AAA dev and nailed it. Seemingly, I mean, 82 or 80 or anywhere in the 80s is awesome for a
That's
first.
actually that is the highest thing a non-FromSoft Souls like usually get is low 80s.
Yeah,
So that's actually really good.
Exactly. So I don't want to seem like I'm coming off too negative, but I do think the conversation around it is so interesting right now.
Does Metaphor get nominated?
I think it could.
Probably if it's as good as the Persona 5 got nominated in 2017. I don't think there's a bias there. Though if it doesn't get nominated, oh man, bench is done.
Okay, so
he already decided it's his goatee, man.
No. We're thinking Rebirth is game of all time.
So Metaphor, Rebirth, Astro.
One of the
I want
Ubisoft
Outlaws.
Games. Yeah, just one of those.
I think Outlaws has a better chance than Shadows. Sorry.
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna say neither.
Okay.
What about
well,
Persia?
I can't imagine.
No, Prince of Persia. I just don't like.
It's not
I like
big
that
enough.
game, but I don't think it had a lasting impact. And sorry, the January bias I think exists. Like I don't think that's the same reason I don't see Infinite Wealth making it.
You say that Resident Evil 2 remake got nominated in 2019.
Yeah, and Hitman 3 did it, and it absolutely.
Oh my god, you are not saying here Hitman 3 should have been nominated.
I think it should have.
In 2021? Like
Yes.
there were 6 other games that were better than it. What were the 6?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
No, Psychonauts was there. You guys say that? Psychonauts?
What? Psychonauts wasn't a January release.
No, in 2021, that was one of the nominations.
Oh no, yeah, one of those other bums could have gotten out of the way. Anyway, okay, so I still think let's just put a Ubisoft game on there because we still have 4. So
Outlaws, Astrobot, that should be a guarantee, right?
I think that should be. Yeah.
Actually, I don't think it's no, because I'm already mad at the game critics. I feel like they're gonna be mean to that game.
I think it gets a 90 plus. It's a 90 plus.
It should get a 90 plus. You know what they're gonna say? Well, it's not Nintendo and it's a platformer, so we have to give it an 80.
But I think that I remember Dan Riker, who is one of the biggest platform. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but it's he's one of the biggest Nintendo platforming snobs, and even he was like, "Guys, I think this is Nintendo quality platforming. Holy shit!"
Oh yeah, no,
I hit that boundary. So I don't.
I'm just being a little bitch about it before we get the reviews. You know, I'm just so excited, dude. I can't wait.
What are the other 2? Let's just rapid fire. What else?
Balatro, maybe.
Nah, Balatro, I don't think.
As much as I would want Balatro to be on there, I just don't think it.
I think it's a critic darling, though.
It's the critics who reviewed it. I feel like most critics haven't played it. You know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna say this: Dragon Age is gonna get up there, and everyone's gonna go, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, right. It's just like Inquisition, where it's like, huh?
I guess.
Brothership. Let's go.
Yeah, that's
dude. I want to believe.
That's the Nintendo pick of the year.
I mean, I'm going to be there on the ground this year.
I mean, what? Mario Party? Could you imagine? Dude, could you imagine, bro? Fusion would be DMing me like some hateful things. Like, how the fuck does Mario Party get up there, but not, I don't know, Dragon Age?
Right.
Now I want Dragon Age. Now I want Mario Party to get nominated. Holy shit. Just for the outcry. I don't know what the last game could be. I think
could be Wukong. Honestly, could be Wukong. Yeah,
I look at it. I really do think Helldivers is gonna get nominated. I don't know.
No, there's no shot.
I feel like it made such a massive splash, and I saw a lot of gaming industry people addicted to that game. I feel like they want to nominate it just for the massive splash that it made all the way back. Yeah, sure, back in February, but I feel like I was seeing Helldivers more than Rebirth and when Rebirth came out. And that's not a dig against Rebirth. That's just saying how massive Helldivers was.
If you still got to play Rebirth, man.
Oh my god! Wait till Astrobot.
Okay, that's gonna reignite your gaming flame.
Exactly. I'm telling you, I already planned it out. When I play Astrobot, I already know I'm gonna be so reignited. It's like, okay, play Stellar Blade, Unicorn, Rebirth, all of this shit.
Oh wow, I forgot about Unicorn Overlord.
Yeah, I do actually really want to play that. It's just
I need to beat that.
Survive till Astrobot. That's what I say. But yeah, we kind of let the conversation get away from us. But hey, it was a good talk. Black Myth Wukong. Shoutouts, yeah. I love to see it. I'm gonna play that game. I can't wait, actually. Moving into our next story. Quickie here. Death Stranding 2 special stage panel discussion scheduled for TGS at September 29th. Sony will also have a TGS booth with playable titles and stage events. So it seems like they are much more involved in TGS than I think even we were expecting, because we knew they were going to have a presence, but not to have like multiple things there. You have to imagine PlayStation 5 Pro is definitely going to be at this event in a big way.
And you have to imagine there's some sort of event earlier in the month that just really announces things and does new trailers that get expanded upon at a convention later that month. You think that, Wolf?
That we're gonna get like updates on like stuff.
Well, we're gonna get a showcase. We're gonna get an event earlier in September, and then they're gonna expand on the info from the Japanese side back at later that month at TGS. That's what it's gonna happen.
You will get a state of play. And you're gonna get state of play. And they want to save showcase till for next year. I fully believe that now. It's state of play that shows off some PS5 Pro stuff. I think your PS5 Pro is gonna get its own event, but it's not gonna have PlayStation 5 like new games there. I think it's just gonna show off like a lot of their older stuff, like Spider-Man and maybe Astro Bot and shit. You're gonna see at TGS stuff like Silent Hill 2. Like maybe they'll have playable Astro Bot there. Stuff that's coming up from their partners, and maybe you get a Wolverine trailer. I don't even think that's the case because it's TGS. So this Death Stranding 2 is probably going to be the focus. I don't know how big their involvement's going to be. I don't even think Ghost is here.
No, okay. Here's what I think that
revealed next year.
No, we're getting Ghost revealed next month, and then there's going to be a gameplay demo at TGS.
I just want to put a disclaimer behind anything Bench says. This man has thought Silksong has been at every single industry event for the last year.
Rumor direct next week.
Okay, well.
Real quick.
I want to put that disclaimer.
So they confirmed that Astrobot and Monster Hunter Wilds are going to be there. That's really all they need.
For what it's worth, I'm with you, Wolf. I think there is going to be a state of play. I think it'll be like a PS5 Pro state of play, and they do a lot of, hey, if you're interested in this, watch Tokyo Game Show later this month.
Yeah, I'm very much with you. All right, let's move into...
Bob, it's your time.
Bob, get on the stand. Pretend this is a gavel.
Seat's still warm.
Seat's still warm. Swear on the Bible.
Yep.
Avowed is targeting a baseline of 30 FPS on console. Obsidian confirms. SOCOM Games had this. And then the quote from the developer. This is something I'm going to really quote for the rest of my life. It's a first-person single-player game. You don't necessarily need that 60 frames. And it was cut off, but there was extra stuff about, like, we're going to use that for VFX and, like, visual effects and stuff. Something of that notion. Bob, tell me how this is a good thing before I go off. Because I'm going to go off.
I know. I'm literally standing in front of a dam with a giant crack and there's water leaking, and I'm just, like, putting my hands out, and I'm like, oh, well, I know what's coming. So I do want to clarify that for starters, if you want a good interview from some Avowed devs, go watch that Iron Lords podcast segment. It's like a 30-minute interview with two developers from Avowed. It's the Defining Duke Boys, so it's Mr. Matty Plays and Lord Cognito. And that's where they're sourcing this from, which is why you're not getting like a full quote, because it was just like 4 guys on a couch in a hotel room at Gamescom. But so I feel like they literally, because I watched it, they had trepidation when the thing came up, because they're like, we're not really supposed to be talking about that. And then they kind of were like, well, we can at least say we're targeting 30. And then the conversation kind of went from there. So it's not like this very definitive statement, which is why I feel like people are kind of extrapolating from it. And that's also me coping. But it's like, it's also, I really should look at who was actually being interviewed there, because it wasn't the game director. I think it was like a lead art designer and maybe a story like a writing or storytelling narrative designer. So like not exactly the people you who are the experts in that specific conversation. So again, more cope, but I do think the context matters, and I do think the quotes kind of blowing up without people watching the interview, and because it's only because it's only a video interview and there's not like a article to go read, like no one is doing their due diligence. But I digress.
All right, enough
again,
coping. No, I'm
wait,
kidding.
okay, wait.
That context is important.
Yes.
I respect it.
But as far as the actual 30 FPS discussion, you know, I do think that that's just, I mean, at this point, it's just what Xbox clearly they don't have the priority on 60 like I think other developers do, and they are fine with them wanting to showcase more graphical aspects instead of performance aspects. And I will once again reaffirm in my belief that like there are good 30 FPS action games, and because I think the greatest examples are literally Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, where there were 60 FPS options, and I thought they were so bad and inconsistent that a stable 30 frames is still better than whatever 60 FPS option they throw at you just to make the people who see the number happy. And I think a well done 30 is still better than a half-ass 60. That being said, if there are other PlayStation devs that do prioritize 60 and make it run good, and I think that is the better option. There's also other devs like Star Wars Outlaws who is making a 40 FPS mode because of how many 120 FPS TVs there are now. That scales better with the frame splicing and everything, and it gets into a whole technical conversation. But basically, it's like a best of both worlds. And so I do think Xbox is a bit archaic in that strategy, but I will once again reconfirm my beliefs as I stand in front of this dam that is literally about to break that it's not that big of a deal.
Before Wolf goes, I'll say, like, do you expect 6 months after Avowed comes out, it gets patched on Xbox to run at 60 like Starfield did?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, and I think that because then it's just going to launch on PS. Yeah, then it's going to launch on PS5 with 60 day one.
I mean, that's fine.
Just like your PS5 players are going to get the best version of these games when they get them, and Xbox players are not, and that's weird.
I mean, that's just that's more of a bigger conversation of you're always going to get the best version of a game 6 months after launch, because at launch they have a lot of tighter deadlines because they're just trying to hit the date, and then the game actually gets finished 6 months later. I don't know. I don't necessarily buy into that argument, but yes, I think it is, Wolf kind of mentioned it, the whole, but it's an artistic choice to go 30. Why are you adding the option to go 60? I think it's because they know they can do a 60 FPS option, but that's not what they're prioritizing for the launch of their game. Even if that doesn't necessarily mean they don't want to offer it at all.
Wolf, it's your turn.
Can someone please explain to me why every time one of these stupid fucking things happen, I don't give a shit about console wars. I don't care. It's always an Xbox game. It's always an Xbox first-party studios game. It happened with Redfall, Starfield, this game. Every single fucking time, I have to hear people say, consoles aren't meant for 60 FPS. Just get a PC. When they cannot give me any fucking examples of a Sony first-party game having a 30 FPS only mode. Every first-party Sony game has a 60 FPS mode. To that point, I feel like it's a mandate. And honestly, I think it should be. At this point, I don't know why Avowed, of all things, is 30 FPS. When I look at that game, I do not see a visually stunning game that, they could only make it run at 30 FPS because of how visually crazy and insane it is. If you said Spider-Man was like that, I'd probably believe you, because Spider-Man 2 has a lot of things going on. But that had a 60 FPS mode and a 40 FPS mode, all this extra stuff on top of it. But Avowed is stuck at 30? Avowed. Starfield, these games, and then 6 months later they have the 60 FPS mode. I get the whole, I just think the artistic. I just don't even say it. Just say we couldn't prioritize it. That's it. I don't want this artistic design bullshit. This fucking stupid ass quote. You don't necessarily need that 60 frames. Go fuck yourself. I want it.
Yeah, that was stupid. I will say that was stupid.
I don't understand this whole thought process of like consoles can't do 60 FPS, get used to it, buy a PC. Here's the thing. I get it. If I want like consistent performance all the way, PC master race, I'm fine with that. I get it. Like if I really cared that much, I'm fine with playing games on 30 FPS. But I just want to point out that for the last like 5 years I've had my PS5. Wait, 5 years? No, 4 years. 4 years.
The
last 4 years I've had my PS5, almost every game I've played on it had a 60 FPS mode. Like, I genuinely, I'm trying to think of a game I played that didn't have a 60 FPS mode, and I genuinely cannot think of one. Every first-party game has had a 60 FPS mode, a very high-quality 60 FPS mode. Now, you did mention Rebirth and 16. I'll say this, Bob. I think those games looked really bad at 30 FPS for me, because I just do not like the way 30 FPS looked on those games. And yeah, sure, it's stable, but it just didn't look, it was choppy. And I want the 60 FPS mode. You could say, yeah, but it looks better at 30 FPS. Sure, I don't care. Yeah, I want the number to go up. Call me snide and whatever. Like, I just think it looked better at 60 FPS for me, even when it was being inconsistent. And I think that's more of a development issue to not have a 60 FPS mode that works properly. I want just, if you're going to have a 60 FPS mode, make it high quality. If you're not, I don't understand this whole thought process of every single first party game on Xbox keeps having this headline where I'm like, I want to know what games come out at 60 FPS now. And yeah, of course, you can immediately fire back. There's definitely going to be stuff. Call of Duty's at 60 FPS. But I'm just sick of like having to listen to podcasts. Okay, Forza. I'm sorry, Bob. I knew. Okay.
I just need a win, okay?
It was a joke. But I just think it really just comes down. I'm so sick of having to hear people say consoles are not meant for 60 FPS. They've been 30 FPS this whole time. It's like, no, they've been 60 FPS the last 4 years pretty handily. It's, at this point, it is not the norm. It is not the norm that every console game is going to be 30 FPS, and sometimes you'll get a 60 FPS once in a blue moon. Almost every game I played on PS5, 60 FPS. I'm running in circles. I'm annoyed. This is stupid. I'm not going to say this is like a deal breaker for me with Avowed. I'm just like less interested in that. Less interested in buying it day one, which is just not helping. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big old baby boy, I guess. I just, this type of stuff really bothers me.
I think the only to your point, like I don't think a lot of what you said is wrong. My only thing is that I am not someone who sees the number 30 and 60 and says, okay, like I have to play the game to know. That's the only that's the only thing I take issue with when people are like, why isn't there 60 FPS mode? It's like, you have not played the game. How do you know you do not like the version? Like, sure, everyone has their preferences. I have no problem with that. But like, I just take like umbrage with the fact that people are like, oh, I don't see 60 on the box, I don't want to play. It's like, you don't know how good the 30 mode is. Now, granted, if you don't have Game Pass, you don't have ability to try the game, and you are buying the game and you don't know if it has the mode, that is fair. That is one thing. But I think if you're interested enough in the game, like I was, like with the Final Fantasy games, it's like, okay, I'm not going to make a decision until I actually play it and know how they run.
Here's my thing that I will say is that Starfield did have a good 30 FPS mode. Like, it didn't really feel like 30 FPS. And it just comes down to how high quality the 30 FPS is. I don't know. I'm just like tired of having to see the headline every single time. And I think I'm more annoyed at people just saying this is how consoles are. But it's like, no, like, really pay attention to the console space and see, like, no, most of these games have 60 FPS modes. Like, it is weird if it doesn't have a 60 FPS mode at this point. And third-party releases that didn't. You want to know one? Gotham Knights. Guess what? That game just sucked. So it's like, I'm not saying Avowed is going to suck, by the way. That's not the line I'm trying to make here. Just something to know. But yeah, I am a big old baby about 60 FPS because it's like, dude, how do you give us 60 FPS and then immediately try taking it away from us? It's like, no, we already saw. Like, if you went into this generation, like, everything's still 30 FPS, it's like, okay, well, that's just how it is. But no, I saw it. But yeah, big old baby. Anyways, moving into our reviews of the week, guys. A big game came out today.
Oh, yeah. Finally.
one of the biggest games of the year. You know, I whined about Xbox. Now it's time. PlayStation, take the stand. Concord debuts to a 69 on Metacritic.
Nice.
And how many concurrents? I'm assuming you guys-
500,000?
On Steam, let's
500,000?
see. So Wukong's at 2.3, carry the one. I'm gonna say 400.
622. Come on, man. You can't underestimate it like that.
Oh wow! I think. Wait, wasn't I on last week and guessed like 2,000? Give me a break.
Yeah, dude. That was so funny. I was
Actually,
like, what?
638.
Yes, Mitch?
638. You're missing the 38. 638.
Oh, was there a
Oh
recent?
please,
increase?
let's not
Oh, yeah, I guess-
disparage the 38
a
people that
peak
are also playing.
I
A
guess
peak
16
of
people
almost
got back from
700.
work.
Peak of 697. Let's give it its flowers.
Yeah, it's about to be Friday night, so it could go up to 700 maybe by the end of the
Yep.
night.
This game took 8 years to develop, not for 700 peak concurrence.
Tough.
Also, I checked on OpenCritic. 5 critic reviews, 63 on OpenCritic.
Oh,
And I've never seen this before. 0% critics recommend.
Oh wow.
Which I don't even know what that means. The whole like percent critics recommend thing on OpenCritic never.
I think
makes sense to me.
it's a separate metric. So like they could give you could give the game a 9, but they could still not recommend it because it's not for them or whatever. I think it's just to separate like the number from the yes no you should play. I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
Concord's a fucking joke. I'm sorry. I feel bad for the developers. I genuinely do. It feels like they genuinely believed and wanted this game to do well. But I cannot believe how Sony looked at this game and are shocked. I cannot. After that beta, you could not go into this month going like, let's stick with it, boys. I think we're going to get a big launch upcoming. No, you didn't even try at all. You didn't say, okay, if you have PS Plus, you could try out for free. Or if you do this on Steam, maybe if you own Helldivers, you get to play Concord for free or for a little bit. Something like that, a free weekend, something. But no, they just launch it and go, fuck it. This is the type of thing Sony does that really bothers me, is that they don't even try. If they see something's doing bad, they're just like, yeah, just let it do bad. We're not even going to attempt to like turn this thing around at all, which I will get. Like, listen, I've been hurling I can't say the word spitballs at Xbox recently. I'll say this. They stick with their games. Sea of Thieves was dog shit at launch. They stuck with it, and now everyone loves it. I don't think Sony's going to stick with Concord, unfortunately. They have a roadmap. I don't think that's roadmap's even going to be completed. Though I will say, those servers are probably going to be on for longer than we expect because Destruction All-Star servers are still up.
Yep, I think servers will be on. And I think it could get a year of content updates, and that's it.
Yeah, I just can't believe too that they literally have a secret level anthology episode dedicated to this game. They've already said that they're going to come out with weekly cutscenes and like story-based content on characters we know nothing about and don't have any frame of reference for. And it's like, how, this is just an overall
factions get canceled, but this didn't.
Yeah, it's just like it again. It's no hate to the devs because I do think from a technical perspective, like this could have worked, but there are so many other elements surrounding this game where it's like, how did no one throughout the pipeline just say, no, this isn't going to work? Like it just seemed like they just so desperately wanted to tick a live service checkbox. They're like, we got it. And sunk cost fallacy also, like you said, 8 years in production. Well, 8 years in development. Who knows how much of that was production? But it's like, yeah, someone really should have said no at some point and just say, hey guys, we gotta like cut our ties because it just and it's not even because people want to say, oh well, it was they started when Overwatch came out and the hero shooter genre is dead. Have we seen the discussion on Marvel Rivals? I mean, we just know. And okay, sure, it's Marvel, but like, even if they didn't have that IP, I think that game would have been a hit no matter what it was, because they are clearly doing something right. Even if I don't agree as like an Overwatch fan on Marvel Rivals, like they are clearly doing enough to generate positive momentum for that game. And while Concord isn't a 1-to-1 Overwatch hero style shooter like Marvel Rivals is, you can't blame the hero shooter genre for why this is failing. It's clear that there's just nothing here that is sticking. And I just think PlayStation missed the mark on their live service game with this one.
You say, listen, Fair Games is still coming.
Is it?
I say that like a threat because it kind of is.
Yeah, right. Like gun to my head, like, hey, Fair Games is coming. All right, don't you move.
Don't move. You gotta play Fair Games. I mean,
Yeah.
look, it's a little unfortunate. A small part of me is like, man, it is so sad that Bob didn't get to play it at least a little bit because it's like Bob Cord goes kind of hard.
No.
Bob Cord, come on, that's better than like a lot of your names. You kind of force it.
Anyway.
Okay, fine. Oh, you agree to disagree, but yeah, Concord, God bless your soul. I don't know. They're gonna have to do something. They have to do something. I know PlayStation.
It's on PS Plus for free in the next couple months.
There's so many things they could do. PS Plus. They could like completely try to like say, fuck it, we're gonna spend the time and money, rework everything, and try to like take into account a lot of the feedback maybe people gave during the beta. Maybe change the character designs. Or listen. Why are you doing a cutscene every week? Like. I feel like it was just such an inherently flawed idea from its start just because of that. I don't know. Like, I want to believe it could do it. I want to believe they could try to turn it around because I've seen crazier success stories from being turned around. I just don't know if it can happen to this game.
They just need to start pumping out these CGI cutscenes because I think people forget how much Overwatch cutscenes we got before that game launched. Like we knew a lot about those characters, even if it still wasn't as much. Like we only got that one cutscene at the showcase to give us like 5 out of the 12 or 15 or however many characters. Like if you want us to care about these characters, why are you waiting until the game is out to be like, oh well, now we got, these cutscenes that you should care about.
Itzy's one of the characters. I remember her. I will say with Overwatch, that's just like one, it was Blizzard, so that's just an immediate W. Like that's an immediate like plus for any game to get more recognition and eyes on it. But also, Overwatch's art style is just substantially more interesting than Concord's. I don't think you look at Concord and go, "Wow, this looks good." It looks good visually, but like the style and the vibe and the characters are just so generic. And I do very much stand by this. I don't know if you guys agree. If this game came out 5 years ago, I think it would have done substantially better.
I don't think so. I really don't think.
In the peak MCU era?
No, because I think these characters' designs would still be boring 5 years ago. Like, I just don't think there's anything because, like, I think of that logo and how, like, 70s and 80s it was, and they we heard the Guardians of the Galaxy comparisons. You know who has nailed that aesthetic? And sorry to bring it back up, Star Wars Outlaws. That game looks like it was between episode 5 and 6, like it should. Like just from the hairstyle of the character, like she looks like she was in the 70s and 80s. I don't know what time period they think like these Concord characters look like, but it's like such a disconnect from what we thought like that style was going to be. So yeah, I still don't think it would have hit 5 years ago.
That's fair enough. It was funny. I think we had the news story last week that it was in development for 8 years. And I thought about it. I was like, wait, 8 years. So what was 8 years ago? Oh yeah, that was like literally the year Overwatch came out.
Yep.
Game took 8 years. Like nothing about the game looks like it took 8 years. I'm sorry. Maybe those cutscenes are the part that took 8 years. I don't know. Do you guys think Firewalk's done for after this? Or do you think Sony's going to try to keep them around?
I think they're designated to a support studio.
Yep.
I don't think they're shut down. I think maybe slimmed down a little bit, but I don't even think they're probably that big to begin with. But I think, they're just going to be a support studio. They won't work on any original games.
I agree.
All right. Fair enough. Well, Concord. Maybe this will age poorly, and like the day we upload this, there's just a surge of like 5 million players. Who knows?
Yeah, overnight they have everyone in China figures out about this game. It's like, whoa, okay.
That was just real quick. I wanted to bring that up when I had to see articles, clickbait articles, obviously, of like 2 million. Black Myth Wukong lost 2 million players overnight. It's like, yeah, because they went to bed. Like, I love how fucking clickbaity shit has become because it's just easy to make fun of. Anyways, moving into one breaking news. Valve announces completely new title Deadlock for the first time.
What?
Deadlock is still in early development stages with lots of temporary art and experimental gameplay. Guys, a brand new game.
Yo,
I've never seen this game before. I
that's
didn't even know
so
this was a thing.
cool.
You know, it's a hero shooter, I think.
Wait.
No, it actually. We talked about this last week.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah,
It's,
illegally.
Been rumored.
so it's technically a
Bet,
hero
I'm just
shooter.
joking. Like, we know that
Okay.
this game, everyone knows this game's real.
Yeah.
It's like the big joke right now. Sorry, continue, but
No, it's okay. Wait, Bench, you really not know what the game
No,
played
I
like?
knew what it
No, no,
was. I
Oh,
thought
no,
y'all.
Bench thought I was being serious.
Oh, okay. Wow, we are. We took that joke a little too far. Continue. I'm not going to explain.
No, that's it. No,
what
I'm done.
Deadlock
No,
is.
wait, no, Bob, did you have anything to say? You talked
No,
about it last week.
I played it a little bit more this week, and like it's still an interesting idea. I haven't arguably I haven't played enough of it yet because I was never a big MOBA guy, so still wrapping my
Wait,
head
you
around.
have access?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Hey, don't give me a
I
code,
have
whatever you do.
I have a
Don't-
friend that gave me a code.
Okay.
Bob, whatever you do, don't threaten me with a code, please.
Okay.
That'd be a
Threaten-
threat.
I mean, we
Threaten
never
Fusion
play
with the
games
code.
together anyway, Wolf. So
I'm
don't worry
down
about
to. You gotta invite me.
it. Yeah, okay.
Threaten Fusion with the code. He'll like it.
Fusion won't play with any of us. He's gonna play with himself. Nerd. Anyways, what have we been playing? Bench,
Black.
talk to me about Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah, I'm about 6 hours into Black Myth Wukong in Chapter 2, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Like, combat's fun. There's like the enemy and boss design is fantastic. There's always you run across a new boss every like 30 minutes, it feels like. And there's just tons of them, and there's just so many secrets in the game. Like, I pretty much just fought a very like secret boss that was very like it didn't feel like a side thing, but it was completely optional, and it took me like an hour and a half to beat because it was just
Jeez.
difficult. Maybe I was like kind of like going at it when I should have, but like it's like in the Souls games when you get it to the health where you're like, I know I can beat this, so you're stubborn and stick it out, even though you could probably level up some more. But that's what I did with this boss, and it was very fun to bring down. So overall, just I like it. I think I'm a little higher on it so far than the reviews that have kind of been going around. But I mean, it's still like probably an 8.5 out of 10 so far. And I mean, I hear like it's just very open as well. Like there's a lot of exploration going on, and I hear each chapter just opens up more and more. So it just keeps improving. It feels like.
That's awesome.
And you'd love this game. The performance on PS5 is subpar. I mean,
Okay, that's the worry.
yeah, it's definitely have some issues, and like I think even if I'm fine with 30, like the 60 FPS mode, I think is just bad. It's a bad 60 FPS mode, so I am playing it at its 30 FPS mode, and I'm still having a good time.
Yeah, it definitely seems like something I'd be into. I love those Souls likes.
Mhm.
I will say that performance was something that definitely scared me away. Though more and more, I'm like, I don't care. I don't.
You were
care
giving me a
enough.
lot of shit,
I gave you shit. Well, okay, I gave you shit because you pre-ordered it,
and
and then you played it for 30 minutes. You're like, I think I'm gonna drop it.
but then I did not. I stuck through.
You gotta be
But also
careful.
the opening of the game is pretty good. It's a good
Oh, yeah,
time.
I watched the opening.
Yeah.
They looked sick. Bob, are you gonna play Black Myth?
He's a hater.
Yeah. I played. I mean, I don't want to segment this into Flintlock because like I beat it and like there's nothing really else to talk about. Good 7 out of 10. Take it for what you will. But I'm just not in the mood for a Souls game, and so I if I were, it would probably be towards the end of the year or maybe early next year, but it's not, and it's not, I know it's not like a Souls game, it's still like an action game, but like at the end of the day, I know what I'm signing up for, and those kind of games, I just don't, like, I didn't even play the Elden Ring DLC. It's like, I have to be a certain mood for that, and that's just not what I'm looking for right now.
Okay, so wait, so what you're saying is anyone who plays Souls-likes are fat losers? Oh my God, Bob.
Oh, I was told to tell nothing but the truth on the stand, Wolf. I don't know what you want from me.
Anyways, Bob, you've been playing Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. What are you thinking of it so far?
Yeah, like I said, I beat Flintlock, and I've been waiting to kill time for Star Wars Outlaws. And my Dynasty and College Football 25 can only go so far. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I have heard, the game kind of came out to a murmur, and then people were like, oh yeah, I tried a little bit of it, and it's actually kind of interesting. It's got an interesting loop, and I still wasn't exactly sure what the game was. So I was like, it's on Game Pass. I feel like that's always it's always like, why not? So I downloaded it. I genuinely have been so surprised by this game because it is a very competent, I would say, like real-time strategy / action game where you have this objective basically in every level so far outside of one. The objective is you have this like goddess that you are trying to get from one side of the map to the other, and you have a daytime to prepare for nighttime and move her across the map, and then once nighttime hits, it's like a gate opens up and it's like a tower defense almost a little bit. But you have characters that you unlock through each level that now become part of your team, and you can assign them different roles from like melee, ranger, thief, etc., buffs, debuffs, and then you place them on the map strategically to protect your goddess. But you are still a character. You are your own separate character with your own health bar. You dodge, you block, you attack. You have light and heavy attacks essentially, and it's wave based where it's like, okay, this time it's a bunch of ads. Oh, here's a little mini boss that you have to play, kind of thing. And then once nighttime ends, it's daytime again. You move farther until you go to the end of the level, and then for each level that becomes its own separate base because you're kind of like climbing this mountain, except for some reason you're going down the mountain instead of up. And each base, once you've completed it, you can take those workers that you freed to like upgrade the base. And once you upgrade it, you buff your character, you unlock more roles in the little skill trees that they have. It's not really a skill tree, it's just like one pipeline. And it's like, whoa, okay, I've already put in like 5 hours, and it's like the gameplay loop is so addicting because it's like, oh, I didn't get all the optional objectives. Let me go back and do that. And actually, I should go back and do that because on my base, it takes 1 day-night cycle for this thing that they're working on to unlock to further upgrade. So it's like there's constantly like stuff that's going on in the background that you need to go replay levels, so that it makes you want to replay the levels, and then you're trying to replay them to get the objectives, and it's like, okay, I am all of a sudden like locked into this game, and like there's no story. Who cares? Like there's nothing going on. I'm putting on podcasts. I'm listening to whatever to pass the time. I'm talking to friends. It's very mindless, but it's like it's a great buffer game to be like, all right, I don't want to completely invest into something, but has good gameplay and it keeps the conversation going, and I'm playing something new. And then Star Wars Outlaws comes out next week, and hopefully I'll be done by then, and then I can move on to that. So yeah, I am so impressed by this game.
That is awesome to hear. That's definitely a game that I have very much passing interest, but like one I want to check out by the end of the year for sure. I'm just in as mentioned, man. There's so many games I'm behind on, so finding time for stuff on that level is definitely tough. But everything you're saying it speaks to me. And also it's Game Pass, so it's an easy jump in.
Yeah, I would say like if you come off a super like you just got invested in a 60-hour game and you're coming off that high and like nothing's speaking to you, this is the game to play to like get you through that high and be like, all right, I'm just playing this to keep playing stuff and move on. And then the next game you're ready for, this is the perfect game for that.
You think Astrobot's going to be 60 hours?
Yes. Knowing the collectibles, it could be.
No. 3D platformers, like the collectible wise, even 100%, it's like 20 hours max.
See?
I'm an expert on that genre, man. Can you guys tell I'm excited for that game? I don't know if I made it obvious enough.
Oh, what game? You haven't mentioned it.
Oh, have I not? It's
No.
a tiny little indie game, Astrobot. Don't know if you heard of it.
Oh, is it?
It's a little
What
off the radar.
platform is it on?
PlayStation 5.
Okay,
I don't.
alright.
If you've heard of that thing, I know PlayStation 5 not relatively known around these parts.
Yeah, I think that sounds familiar. A hero shooter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
hero shooter. Yeah, there's a weird 3D platformer that came out today called Concord. I don't think anyone's like
Yeah.
feeling it.
It's not
Anyways,
Nintendo.
true. Anyway, for me, I've just been meandering. I've been playing a lot of Wind Waker. That's the last Zelda game mainline that I have not played. I'm also playing the Oracle of Ages on the side, just like a little bit here and there. And Wind Waker, this game's fucking awesome. I am shocked by how much I played this in the past. I played about like half of it when I was a kid, and I think I got stuck, and that's why I never beat it. But now that I'm actually like fully invested in it, it's like, god damn, I forgot how fucking like jovial. That's the best way to describe Wind Waker. It's such a jovial experience where everyone is just so smiling and everything feels like it's just a great time. It's also weirdly emotional at times. Like whenever your grandma speaks, you get so invested in that whole like storyline. It's a very happy game. It's like the best game I could play at the moment. And I don't know. It's definitely. I don't know how high it'll rank for my 3D Zelda. It just Zelda games in general, but like it's already. I'll say this: it has easily the best soundtrack of any Zelda game. Not even a debate there. Stuff like Dragon Roost Island carries that shit. So, Wind Waker, high recommend. One day Bob will play the other Zelda games. Who knows?
I know. I'm telling you, I just need that dang email from Aya Neo so I can get my
I feel you.
my flip.
Twilight Princess or Wind Waker?
I haven't been Wind Waker.
Okay.
He always wants to pit stuff against each other. He was pitting you and me
Yeah.
against each other, Bob.
And it worked.
Not surprising.
Anyways, that's about it for our podcast. About 2 hours, I think. So a little meaty
Bob
episode,
special.
but Bob special. Meaty, but for a good reason. Big events, a lot of news. We're starting to get into the swing of things. There's a lot more news. The summer of slowness has ended. We are now gonna have Yap Fests moving forward. So I hope you guys are excited for that. Anyways, check us out. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever pods are caught. Check us out on Twitter. Like the podcast. Say good night, everyone.
Good night.
I only told the truth, all right?